In the news tonight, President sounds alarm over non-compliance. No end to rise in COVID cases. And calls for vaccination reiterated.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Atera Lendua.
Bulavinaka, Fiji, the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic has caused more economic damage than any cyclone we've ever experienced. This was the sentiment shared by President Major General Retired George Conrote in his address, adding that the implication of the COVID-19 pandemic is likely to continue if people dismiss the measures in place. Conrote adds the average number of cases recorded on a daily basis in the past week is concerning, despite Fiji's high recovery rate.
Many have contracted the virus despite all of their knowledge and all the careful steps they have taken to protect themselves. They are our own brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, mothers and fathers. They are family. They deserve our unwavering support.
Koroi Tandalala joins us live now. Koroi, this is the first time the President has spoken about Fiji's COVID-19 situation. What else did he say in his address?
The President in his address says that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected a lot of businesses, stopping them dead in its tracks, also affecting a lot of business owners as well as Fijians employed in this sector. He also says that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected most people who are already struggling and worsened the struggles as well under difficult conditions. The head of state says that the Fijian way of life is well marked. However, this can only be achieved through a concerted effort and collective effort by all Fijians, stakeholders, and also working together with health professionals in containing this virus. The president also called on community leaders as well as leaders of faith-based organizations to encourage the public to play their role in getting this virus under control simply by following COVID-19 measures such as wearing masks properly while out in public spaces, as well as keeping proper hygiene at all times. He adds that the virus cannot be contained by health professionals alone, and it takes a whole nation in order to get this virus under control. Ateva.
Vinaka Koroi. The authorities are now turning their attention to addressing the severe impacts of the second wave of COVID-19. Permanent Secretary for Health, Dr. James Fong, says they're in mitigation phase, and that is a point where one cannot control the spread of the virus. Therefore, controlling the worst potential outcomes is priority. Kritika Kumar reports.
The mitigation phase requires that the ministry concentrates on severe cases.
We will follow where the disease takes us. Why? Because the disease will only move as far as the COVID unsafe measures are moving.
The Ministry of Health is now preparing for the phase that has happened in America and the United Kingdom.
We also want them to learn how to safely engage with plenty of the invasive measures that are required to treat a severe case of COVID.
The ministry fears the next progression of the COVID-19 outbreak will see more people dying and more severe cases needing hospitalization.
We've just started to see what we think is the beginning of that wave right now. We reported 4 new deaths today from COVID-19. And we have 9 patients currently admitted at CWM Hospital with severe COVID-19 disease, including a previously well 30-year-old.
Dr. Alisha Sahu Khan says if the worst-case scenario comes to pass, public health facilities may not be able to cope. This will deprive Fijians of receiving treatment for other non-COVID ailments and medical emergencies. However, Sahu Khan says this can be avoided if protocols are followed. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Kritika Kumar is live now with us. Kritika, tell us about the ministry's efforts in trying to prevent the worst from coming to pass.
Ateda, over the last 8 days, the caseload has doubled, and majority of these cases are located in densely populated areas. According to the Ministry of Health, the worst of this pandemic is yet to come. Now, the case number is expected to explode, and according to the Ministry of Health, there could be more severe cases and more deaths recorded in the country. The Permanent Secretary for Health yesterday highlighted that the overseas experts have agreed that COVID-19 pandemic could become an endemic. An endemic is a disease which continues to circulate forever. However, Dr. Fong says it is too early to determine whether this will be the case in Fiji or not. Ateda.
Thank you, Kritika. The Ministry of Health says the increase in COVID-19 related deaths recorded recently warns of the urgency for Fijians to get vaccinated at the earliest. Health officials had previously warned that this is a killer virus and that it risks claiming more lives if people remain complacent about the vaccine and flout measures in place. Koreitandulala reports.
The Permanent Secretary says most of those who succumb to the deadly virus haven't been fully vaccinated and some haven't even received their first dose.
This virus is a killer that no Fijian can afford to treat lightly. And two, we must fully vaccinate all our adult population as quickly as possible. That means 2 doses for every eligible Fijian.
The Permanent Secretary in earnestness continues his call for Fijians to get the life-saving jab and dismiss misinformation.
Of the nearly 300,000 people who have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine, there is zero, I repeat, 0 deaths caused by COVID-19 vaccine in Fiji.
The health professionals reassuring the nation that the vaccine is safe.
The vaccines we have reserved for every Fijian offer at least 92% protection against hospitalization, which is remarkable.
All of us here are still working. We're not giving up. We're working 7 days a week. That will continue.
Fiji is aiming to vaccinate 80% of its adult population by October. Koreitandulala, FBC News.
And to our latest COVID-19 update. There were 279 new cases in the 24-hour period ending at 8 yesterday morning. The Ministry of Health has recorded a number of new infections in the Nandi area as well as the Lamino-Sori zone. More cases are also expected from the Ngawea settlement. Fiji has recorded 2,479 cases since April. There are now 1,892 active cases in isolation with 636 recoveries in total. The COVID-19 death toll stands at 11. Up ahead, food ration delivery outsourced. And no civil unrest in Fiji. New World and Shop and Save Supermarket will be delivering household packs to those in targeted lockdown areas and home isolation. Minister for Economy Ayar Said Qayyum says they had put out expression of interest in the private sector and 19 applications were received from various businesses, including supermarkets. Said Qayyum says out of these, they had selected 2.
Shop and Save's staff will be delivering the food has already completed their training with the Ministry of Health in respect of the various health protocols. In fact, today they were out on a run, learning run in Ngawea settlement. There's about 542 homes that are being delivered with food today. In fact, probably would have been completed by now. And they will then essentially take over those deliveries completely together with New World.
Apart from ration distribution, the government has also announced other assistance measures. Edwin Nund joins us live now for the details.
Ateda, the Minister for Economy has tonight confirmed that starting Monday, 17 general practitioners will be providing medical services to the public paid for by the government. These doctors are located in the Western and Central Division, and a list of GPs and their locations should be available on the government Facebook page and other platforms tonight. This will not apply to existing patients of these GPs or private doctors because they were already paying for services. Now, also, Ateda, there will be another round of $50 cash assistance to those in the informal sector. Applications open on the 30th of June, and anyone wanting to apply is being urged to get their details ready. The funds should be dispersed at the latest by the 7th of July.
Vinaka, Edwin. Vaccination misinformation should not hinder an individual's choice of receiving the jab. Speaking at Suva City Council's vaccination drive earlier today, Special Administrator's Chair Isikeli Tikondondo says Fijians should disregard misinformation about the vaccine. Jeshulal reports.
SCC Special Administrator Isikeli Tikondondua says it is unfortunate that some people are not supporting the strategies set by the Health Ministry.
The thing that I would probably advise them to do is get scientific evidence. If you really want to know whether, stop listening to this fake news and the rumor that's going around.
Tikondondua says a wise decision should be made by individuals.
Do your own research, Google it, read more about it, and make a balanced decision. If you care for your family, then you know what you should do. I know the law says that it's an individual choice, but make a wise choice.
For the first time, we did vaccinate the frontliners, but then we open to the public as it goes on. And today, we are here in the Civic Center for the general public.
Fijians have been urged to come forward and get vaccinated to be protected against the virus. Jeshulal, FBC News.
Claims by overseas media that Fiji is on the brink of social unrest have been shot down. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation's Pacific Beat service has published an article along these lines, claiming the brawl at G2 Estate in Suva is a sign of things to come. Edwin Nand again.
The article lacks corroboration from any local authority or individual and quotes local reports as saying there are mounting fears of social unrest.
It's highly, premature and irresponsible of the ABC to take a particular street brawl in an informal settlement and from there deduce, based on quote-unquote some local reports.
It's not responsible reporting, especially in these very challenging and difficult times. We've established the facts. The facts are that this was a disagreement and confusion amongst youths.
Even Prime Minister Voreqe Bainimarama has refused to acknowledge the article, saying he does not need to respond to these types of reports. The bigger worry for the human rights body here is the impact of the ABC article on local communities.
To invoke a term like social, unrest, you need to be absolutely responsible because it can cause panic and alarm amongst the citizens. It shatters, public confidence in the state.
It's a very difficult time. There's a lot of misinformation. Of course, there's social challenges and economic challenges that people are facing. And the priority right now really is for people to do what is right.
Questions sent to the ABC were not responded to earlier today. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
And this evening, an ABC spokesperson responded, saying the ABC has verified the claims made in its reporting with multiple first-hand sources in G2 Estate. The spokesperson further adds they've also quoted a number of different organizations about the potential for unrest in Fiji, including a historian who didn't think that was a potential outcome. The ABC adds it regularly seeks comments from the Fijian government about the COVID situation in the country. All individuals returning to Vanua Levu from Viti Levu will be tested prior to their travel, says Divisional Commissioner Northern Urai Rainima. Rainima made the comment during a visit to the quarantine facilities in Bua and Maduata earlier this week, after several of those registered to travel on Monday tested positive for COVID-19. Rainima says those registered to travel will be swabbed first and will only be allowed to travel after receiving their results. Upon their arrival, the individuals will be isolated for 14 days and released once cleared. He says this will be a trial phase, and if everything goes to plan, they will increase the number of individuals in the next repatriation. There are a total of 8 quarantine facilities in the Northern Division. The date of the commencement of the repatriation is yet to be confirmed.
The recent spike in infections due to the second wave of COVID-19 impedes confidence and poses significant downside risks to economic activity, says the Reserve Bank of Fiji. Governor Rifali says while the domestic economy is envisaged to contract further this year, the steady progress in vaccination could pave the way for a modest recovery in next year. The governor reiterated vaccinating the population will be essential to control the spread of the virus, support the reopening of businesses and borders. He says the prolonged unemployment situation has worsened poverty and inequality amongst vulnerable groups. Ali adds in this regard, continued fiscal support will be crucial to ease the burden on households and firms. The current liquidity level remains ample at $1.6 billion, while annual inflation came in at negative 1.6% last month. Fiji Airport's General Manager Air Traffic Management and Operations Issei Tindreu will take up the position of Acting Chief Executive Officer. FBC News has been reliably informed that Tindreu has been appointed the Acting CEO, which will be effective from the 1st of next month. Tindreu has been with Fiji Airports for a number of years. It's been almost a year since the sudden passing of the former Chief Executive of Fiji Airports, Faiz Khan. Here, the local exchange rates are set early this morning. The Fiji dollar was pegged higher against the US greenback, PNG kina, euro and the Japanese yen, but lost ground versus the other currencies we cover. On the commodities market, crude oil dropped a few cents but remains at $73 a barrel. Gold dropped a few dollars to close at $1,776 per ounce, and silver was down at $25.88 per ounce. And we now join Sinifa from HFC Bank to give us the latest figures from the money market.
Good evening. The US dollar wavered below 11-week high versus major peers today as traders attempted to navigate conflicting signals from Federal Reserve officials on the timing of a withdrawal of monetary stimulus. Investors will keep their eyes on the Bank of England monetary policy and the US durable goods orders data for fresh impulse. However, major attention will be given to how the American senators break the deadlock over the much-awaited extra stimulus, as well as the Fed speeches and COVID headlines. Also to be released tomorrow are the U.S. producer price inflation data, U.S. consumer spending numbers, and the latest reading on U.S. weekly jobless claims with the trade data from New Zealand. It is interesting to see how these data releases will impact our Fiji dollar basket tomorrow. That's all for now from HFC Bank, Inaka.
Despite the current difficult situation, many cane farmers in Nadi are preparing for the upcoming cane harvesting season. With the Lautoka mill scheduled to start crushing next week, farmers are doing all they can to supply cane from Monday. Felipe Naikaso has more.
Amidst concerns of a low forecast cane price, some farmers are ready to take on a challenging season.
We are ready to harvest. We are ready. But we are waiting for the next budget to come out, say, the main papers, so that if we had some increment there.
With the COVID-19 situation also making things more difficult, majority of these farmers depend heavily on the sugar industry, and delivering their cane to the mill will be important.
My family just rely on the sugar farm. Before they were just doing the sugarcane for the others. They were doing the labor work. After that, they buy the land, 1 piece, 2 piece, then they come ahead.
But for some cane farmers here in Nandi, this season will be a test for them. However, they've stated that it will not be impossible to overcome.
Main thing will be labor. They're charging about $25 per ton. And lorry and trucks, they're charging about $18 per ton. And Sardar $2 per ton. It's cost $45.
The Lautoka mill will open on Monday, while crushing is expected to begin on Tuesday. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
That is the latest from my end, but coming up after the break, Veilomani program expanded to help those in need. Stay with us.
Welcome back. The Jobs for Nature Rehabilitation Program that was launched earlier this week has a total budget of $150,000 allocated for Phase 1. Environment Minister Dr. Mahendra Reddy says communal groups can apply and register to be part of the initiative. The program, which aims to sustain our natural resources during COVID-19 and climatic events, will help those in rural areas to be resource champions.
We have identified the ecosystem restoration needs based closely around the region divisions in Fiji, restoring through our waterways and water bodies, restoring our mangroves, our wetlands, restoring our foreshore marine environment, riverbank protection, coastal protection, enhancing biodiversity, establishing seagrass.
The Velomani program, which was initiated last year to help the homeless, has now expanded to help those affected by the pandemic. With more people reaching out for help, Fiji Food Truck Director Randall Kamea says they're providing food and other essential items. Seneni Buela reports.
A certain percentage of all food truck sales goes to the Velomani program.
From each sale goes towards the Velomani program. For the iced tea, it's $1. For our tacos and burgers, it's $1 as well. And all the other items, it's 50 cents. And we also have people that help with food or donations.
While the homeless remains their priority, Kamea says they've also received calls from families affected by the pandemic.
In the last couple of weeks for meals, I think we've given probably close to 300. And every fortnight we also distribute toiletries and sanitary products.
Kamea says one of the major focuses of the Velomani initiative is to build a shelter for the homeless. Sainiani Boila, FBC News.
In today's Q&A, Kelly Vavala speaks with the Housing Minister on the new online portal where people in informal settlements can lodge concerns without breaking COVID-safe protocols.
Is there any new strategy that you've come up with or a policy to ensure that, these residents, do adhere to the protocol?
Yes, we have. There are a couple of things we have done in the Ministry of Housing. Do understand that the staff cannot go into these settlements. There are settlements which are outside Suva as well. So we are constrained. So in that case, the ministry has launched an online portal where the informal settlers can easily lodge their complaints.
Some residents in the informal settlement might not have connection to the internet. They might
Absolutely. So we do have provision for those informal settlers who may not have internet and they cannot go on the online portal to lodge. They can still use the traditional method. They can call us. We will attend to the calls. They can write to us.
And now to sports with JB.
Vinaka, good evening. Ahead in sports, Kauai excited about new talent in squad. And F8 has set strict conditions for transfers. Details coming up. The Oceania Sevens will be a huge test and a critical part of giving new players exposure at an international tournament. The last time the Fiji Sevens side played outside of Fiji was at the Los Angeles Sevens in March of last year. Aquila Dama reports.
One of the young players who may make the final 13 for the Olympic Games is Sireli Mangala, and coach Gareth Baber still remembers the first time he saw him playing for Dominion Brothers under 20.
And I could see an individual who, in some respects, reminded me a lot of Osir Kolinisau. Even looks a little bit like him as well. But playing in that rover position, physical, great skill level. And it was really the way I could see him leading that group of players around him.
Olympian Jerry Tuai expects the rookies to be tested this weekend.
These new boys bring something else, they're new, so they are young and excited and real fit, and they are eager to play this weekend.
Tuai is not the only senior player who will be guiding the youngsters in the tournament. Kalione Nasoko is also raring to go after quite some time.
It's been good, and I've been gelling well with the boys. The preparation we have done in Fiji, and I'm excited to be back and looking forward to play again for our team this weekend.
The Oceania 7 starts tomorrow in Townsville, Australia and ends on Sunday. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
The Fiji Football Association mid-season transfer window will happen as scheduled next month, but with more stringent guidelines. Fiji FA Chief Executive Mohammed Yusuf says they are turning online to comply with the COVID-19 safe protocols. And while Fiji FA has made its stance clear on players being vaccinated before being allowed to play when games are safe to resume, it will not be a criteria for transfer in this window.
Vaccination doesn't apply there. Transfer window, but there will be very strict criteria, like we will need to protect the districts that have been looking after the players, and all that. So once the guidelines are out, we'll let the media know.
Oceania National Olympic Committee President Dr. Robin Mitchell believes sport is now at a point of being elevated into recognition as key to survival. In his Olympic speech, Dr. Mitchell says that now more than ever we should draw from the principal Olympic values of excellence, respect and friendship to demonstrate that solidarity is critical to surviving the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Mitchell adds for 2 years, Oceania teams and athletes have been tested, but so far all have shown that through hope and solidarity, every challenge can be overcome.
Now we are barely weeks away from meeting each other, but in a different way. In 40 years, we have learned to stand for something much bigger than sport, and that is probably the larger and deeper lesson for us. Sport is our life, but sport is now at the cusp of being elevated into recognition as key to human health.
France and Portugal played out a thrilling 2-all draw in Budapest as France secured top spot in Group F at Euro 2020, while Portugal still qualified for the last 16 as one of the 4 best third-place finishers. In the match that kept the fans on their toes, Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo also equaled the all-time international goal-scoring record for men's football. Germany booked the last top 16 spot at Euro 2020 this morning, the side coming from behind twice to bundle Hungary out of the tournament with a 2-all draw. Still with the Euro 2020, and it was a strong sign-off for Spain after handing a 5-0 thrashing to Slovakia earlier this morning. Spain now takes second place with 5 points after Sweden, who have topped the Group E table with 7 points. Meanwhile, Sweden secured the top spot in Group E after a narrow 3-2 win against Poland this morning. 2 years after a traumatic World Cup defeat, the Black Caps are back and on top of the world. They defeated cricketing titans India in a fairy tale finish to the inaugural World Test Championship. In play of the day, Martin Dubravka's own goal gives Spain a helping hand. It was described as going from heroic to humiliation and as having a nightmare. Spain, a new victory would ensure a place in the knockout stages of the European Championship and progressed with a handsome 5-0 win over Slovakia. But they were given a huge helping hand, literally, by Slovakian goalkeeper Dubravka. That's it from Sports Tonight. In Weird and Wonderful after the break, a sewing dad who has created over 200 matching outfits for his daughter Ava. Find out more after the break.
Welcome back. News just a hand after the press conference earlier. There have been 308 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours up to 8 a.m. today, setting a new record of daily infections. Of the new cases, 297 are from the Lami Nosori containment zone and 11 are from Tramline Nadi. 218 of the cases in Lami, Suva, Nosori are from existing areas of interest, including 153 from Gawia and Lami. 12 cases are from new areas of interest that include Goodman Fielder, Gaunda Shipping, Nosori Police Barracks, and St. Giles Hospital. The remaining cases are contacts of known cases or cases that were seen in screening clinics and were swabbed. Now time to look at weather for today.
Time to look at the weather for today. A high-pressure system to the far southwest of Fiji continues to gradually move east and is generating moderate southerly swells towards Fiji waters, which can cause coastal inundation over the southern coastal parts of the group. Now to the west, mainly fine conditions prevailed. It will be cool at night. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, it was mostly cloudy and rainy. Showers expected to ease and clear from later tonight. Cool conditions will remain. Moving to the north, cloudy periods with some showers. Places we will be checking out is Rakiraki, Ba and Lautoka. All three had 19 degrees, however, it felt like 29. Humidity was at 71%. At sea, southeast winds 20 to 30 knots, rough to very rough seas. Moderate southerly swells. Expect coastal sea flooding during high tides. The next low tide is at 4 minutes past midnight with a high tide at 6:24 tomorrow morning. Sunrise at 6:38. For tomorrow, cloudy periods with some showers over the eastern and interior parts of Viti Levu and Vanua Levu, Taviuni, Lau and Lomai Viti group. Elsewhere fine apart from isolated brief showers. And looking further ahead, expect much of the similar conditions. Our shot of the day was captured in Lami by Venina Rakautonga. Remember to send us pictures, send it with a small description to our FBC News Facebook page. That's your weather tonight. It's back to Ateda.
In Fijian Pulse, we ask, do you think Fijians are doing enough to help contain the spread of COVID-19?
Yes, I think Fijians are doing their part by wearing their mask and staying at home.
I think most people are playing their part, while others, they are just so ignorant.
I believe so they are, as I've noticed most of them are now getting vaccinated and also keeping social distancing.
Recapping our main stories, President sounds alarm over non-compliance, no end to rise in COVID cases, and calls for vaccination reiterated. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station, Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we're asking, can Fiji retain its gold medal in Rugby Sevens at the Tokyo Olympics? Visit our website, fbcnews.com.fj, to answer. Send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts. You can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the very latest in news and sports, and also listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news for tonight. I'll see you again tomorrow. You stay safe and Modemanda.